AI is basically transforming every industry and it's also changing yours. But the most of the conversations stop basically at AI training. But the real impact happens when a model starts making decisions in the real world, and that's inference. I'm joined by a leader in the AI domain, Adam, and he's the senior deep learning data scientist at NVIDIA. And we're going to explore how inference drives real business value, but also how it can help you powering your innovation across AI, across GenAI, Agentic AI, and of course, what organizations need to get right to scale effectively. Welcome, Adam.
Pleasure to meet you.
So, Adam, if I talk to executive, a lot of them talk about AI training, but less about inference. Now, can you explain in more detail what's the difference and why this inference delivers the real business value?
Yeah, sure. So training is a process of creating those models in the first place. Yes. Whether that's creating models, language models, diffusion models, video generation models, vision language models, they have to be created somehow. And training requires a certain set of skills and certain set of computational resources. And it can be done on very large scale when you're trying to create those models in the first place, or it can be done at much smaller scale where the only thing you want to do is to adapt those models to your specific tasks, to your specific communication requirements, so be it. Um, but those models, once you finish training, are not useful for anything. And in order to use them, you have to deploy them on some sort of a device and query them, preferably in a cost-effective manner. And it turns out that that process of running inference, operating inference systems in itself is an engineering task that requires certain skills, and mastering those skills has a tendency of translating into operational cost reduction, has a tendency of increasing the breadth of things that you can do. And so it's a fascinating problem. We have quite a few people across the company that are focusing on that, including in my team.
Yeah, so on one hand, you're talking about this scale, but on the other hand, we have, of course, the different types of AI. Can you explain how inference creates value across, for example, traditional AI or Gen AI? And on the other hand, what's now emerging is agentic AI.
Sure. So inference is the only thing that actually delivers any value, because inference is a process of using those models. You create a hammer, and it's great. You have a hammer in your hand, but it's only when you build a house that you actually have take advantage of the hammer that someone else or yourself built. And inference is a relatively similar process, regardless whether you're using traditional non-generative or more modern generative models. Right now, the models that we use are autoregressive, so their execution is ever so slightly different than of the neural networks that we would have a couple years ago. But in principle, it requires same skills and same capabilities. The set of technologies that we use for inference are not new. So we've been working on making sure that we know how to very cost effectively deploy neural networks for years now. So we had this library called TensorRT for almost a decade now. Yes, and it just continues to evolve as neural networks change. Its primary objective is to achieve a couple of different things. For those people that care about latency, so how quickly those models respond to your requests, this library helps you with that, reducing the latency. For those that care less about latency and more about cost of operation, you can carry out optimizations focused on that, and then you can also choose a point on a spectrum between super low latency and super high throughput. Tools to achieve that already exist, as well as tools for further model compression, model optimization. So today, it would be a bit of a naive thing to do to take a model and just deploy it for inference. Typically, there is a number of different interventions one has to make in order to operate them cost effectively, whether that's quantization, whether that's distillation. There are many different things you can do to reduce your operational cost associated with model serving.
Talking about this operational cost, so next to the models, what must leaders do very well in respect, for example, to their data or their infrastructure or the integration, governance, of course, we should not forget. So how can they scale inference effectively?
Sure. So I think right now we're at this fascinating point in time where a lot of technologies, a lot of solutions became possible. There are countless of processes within almost every organization that one could automate, one could develop agents for. And a lot of those technologies shouldn't be built in-house. Yes, a lot of those technologies should be bought. Like, there is a tangible question for every CEO. If I have a company whose big part of the business is to develop code, should I be building my own software development utilities, or should I, buy them from, Lovable, Windsurf, JetBrains, whomever. That's one of the main things that leaders across the globe need to do, and choose their battles, because number of people that know how to implement those solutions is small. Is still very small. It's growing. People are learning, but it's still extremely small. So one of the main takeaways from countless of my meetings with customers would be to choose your battles. Yes, and all of those things fall into place. If you're going to overextend your best people to build yet another document retrieval system for your HR team, the value of that is limited, and at the same time, the same people are not implementing something that is strategic for your business. So if I were to focus my energy as a CEO, CTO, my primary focus would be at making sure that we are not trying to solve all of the problems that can be solved with that technology, but to really focus on the things that are strategic for my company.
Yeah, and talking about these battles, can you share some of the battles which show inference driving, on one hand, for example, competitive advantage, but also the role that we see, how it evolves if we move more to multimodal Gen AI or to agentic AI?
Yeah, so um, um, those technologies, they are affecting a very broad range of aspects of our day-to-day life. Yes, and aspects of operation of countless businesses. And so again, if you wanted to make sure that every aspect of your company's operation takes advantage of some of those technologies, that might be something that is too broad of a scope. So I think the primary thing that many leaders should consider, and I don't want to teach people how to do their job, but is to really try to identify the set of technologies that um, have some incremental impact on their business, like technologies that will allow their staff to write emails ever so slightly faster, or build higher quality emails, respond to tenders slightly faster, and versus those technologies that have fundamental impact on their business. There are many businesses whose core foundations need to adapt to the new reality, whose core business is shaken by the emergence of those technologies. All of the businesses that provide any form of data aggregation, data brokerage, intermediate services, they will want to consider the use of those agentic pipelines, because there will unavoidably an emergence of companies that will want to compete for their business. So I think those are two main things: technologies that will support their staff doing day-to-day work, and then those fundamental changes to the way their business operates that they need to either mitigate, adopt to, take advantage of, or at least understand. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense, because if people really feel in the day-to-day work it benefits, it's much easier for them as well to understand, okay, if we now apply it to more complex tasks within the organization to make it successful. So great insights, Adam. Thank you for sharing your experience. And I think it's clear that inference isn't just a technical step, it's much more where AI truly delivers business impact, whether it's on the individual case or whether it's in the full organization. Adam, thanks a lot. And thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, Candy, and have a great day.